Hey all, for those not in the loop, Michael Myers is going to be getting changed in the not so distant future, which is Spanish for October because Halloween reasons. As someone with a lot of hours on the character, I would like to discuss my desires for this rework. Maybe someone from Behavior will see it and be like, this Stalky guy, he's on to something. I have three main things, but we need to keep one thing in mind before discussing anything. Michael's identity should remain the same. He doesn't need a full rework like Freddy. A lot of players love the feeling of sneaking up on individuals and giving them the business, "Hi, I'm player." So his base kit should remain mostly the same. I believe what should be done is additions to make the player just feel more like Michael Myers. With that being said, let's get into my three main changes to Michael and then a few small ones that I'd like to see too. Change number one, stalking needs a buff. Michael is in a very unique position in Dead by Daylight. He is currently the only killer in the game that can have his power completely taken away if he does his job a little too well. If you are unfamiliar with Michael's stalk mechanic, it works as follows. Myers can look at survivors and take evil from them. Once he takes enough evil, he can tier up. Michael has 3 tiers. Once he gets out of tier 1, he never returns to it. Once Michael builds up to tier 3, he gains access to faster vaults, bigger lunges, and most importantly, he can insta-down survivors. He can only get to tier 3 a limited amount of time since it's on a time limit, and then he returns back to tier 2. The issue is every survivor only has enough evil for 2 tier ups, meaning Michael can achieve 7 tier 3s, and it's even less with certain add-ons. Most of the time the amount of tier 3s is plenty fine, but every now and then when you get some really good survivors, it can just feel extremely unrewarding managing to get to tier 3s a good amount of times, but then whoops, you accidentally killed off one of the survivors that happens to have a good amount of stock left. So because you did your job efficiently as killer, you just lose out on potentially 2 tier 3s, which can be extremely game changing. This is when the amount of evil becomes an issue. Not so much because of how much is on the board, but because of how much you could lose just for doing well as Myers. There are a number of ways you can fix this issue, but I think it boils down to 2 different ways. The first solution is to simply have survivors gain evil back in some sort of way. This is the easiest solution. You can either have survivors gain evil back through altruism or just have it come back slowly over time. Maybe every time a survivor gets hooked, they gain some evil back. Either of these fixes would be fine. What I find would be the more interesting change, and I find this would fix a lot of other issues people have with going up against Myers, is giving Myers a reward for fully stalking an individual survivor. Something that people often hate is teammates feeding the Myers and the Mikey then going to use that stalk that was built up to take out completely unsuspecting victims. This will make people much more wary of getting stalked if they become fully stalked. The reward could be a ton of things. When in chase with a fully stalked survivor, the shape could simply do everything faster while chasing them, getting a small speed boost, vault even faster, a slightly faster weapon cooldown. You could really give them a lot of cool things to play with. It would be extremely thematic for the character. He's stalked his prey fully and done playing with his food. He's ready to finish the job. Now, there is also a second reward I think would be pretty cool for fully stalking a survivor that also bleeds into the second thing I want the most for the character. I want a Mori implemented into his base kit. Now, let me make this clear. I am not referring to Tombstone. I'm more referring to something along the lines of Pyramid Head and Sadako. I think it is just extremely thematic for the Myers character to be able to straight up kill a survivor. After all, he was the first to do so with add-ons. The game has changed so drastically since then, making the Tombstone add-ons do something else. Side note, you can make the purple mute the tier up sounds, and the Judas Tombstone gives them like Spear Fairy in tier 3 or something. That's just spitballing ideas. It just fits so much with him to straight up Mori a survivor. It would be cool if he was given a mini Mori similar to the other two. I'm thinking something along the lines of Vicky's death in the 2018 film. The survivor attempts to crawl away. The shape looms over them, grabbing their foot, dragging them closer to them. They let out a scream and the shape silences them forever with a quick stab to the back. Once fully stalked and they're on death hook, when Myers downs them, he could just mori them. He could get like a quick mori or something like that, similar to Sadako and Pyramid Head. Right before I get into the very last big thing I would like for the character, if you want to see me talk about more things DBD, please leave a like and subscribe, showing me you want more of this sort of format. This is different from the normal stuff, and feedback would be greatly appreciated. The last big thing I want to see is a Myers visual rework. Please, for the love of God, fix his mask. He looks very derpy in the DVD rendition, and I get it. He was one of the first killers ever released. I understand that it must have been difficult. But the team is capable of doing amazingly accurate looking models now. It would be nice if we could slim down him just a smidge and fix up the mask. I talk about this in much more length in another video that'll be linked below if you want to check out my thoughts on the Myers appearance in detail. I will just go over one more thing. I know some people say that it's like a William Shatner rights thing. That isn't the case because they actually have an accurate Myers mask within the game. It's used for his power icon, so they can definitely have it in their game. They just need to do it. I think the reason that it just wasn't in the game before is just simply because they weren't as experienced, so they just couldn't do it. Now, while that was my last big thing that I personally really want to see, the next little topics of interest are things I could care one way or another if it was added, but could be nice additions. For starters, his jewelry add-ons I think would be cooler if they gave him small save the best for last stacks, like the brown giving him like 3% faster cooldown, and the higher areas of course being a little more powerful. I think that'd make a lot more fun. If it's too powerful with save the best for last, then you could just have it not scale with save the best for last. It would be nice if something was done around tier 1. I really like the idea of hitting a survivor instantly 99s your tier 1. It's relatively easy on most maps to get a sneak attack rather than stalking for 5 seconds, and it's still fitting for what the Myers character does. Reducing the stalk drop-off is another big thing. Myers within the film, when stalking individuals, is never done from like a super close distance, and he never stalks for an incredibly long period of time either. He pops in and then out. Of course, for balance reasons, you need to have him stalk for a period, but I think it should only add an additional second or two from way farther distances rather than like doubling the amount of stalk time needed to actually tier up. It should be rewarding to stalk people from afar rather than breathing down their neck. While he does sneak up on individuals, that's when it's already too late. That's curtain for his victims. When stalking, it's from a distance away. We want to give the survivors the spooky Myers experience, and it makes the Mikey player feel good too. Encourage healthy stalking in the game. I know for a lot of people it might seem a little odd that I put certain cosmetic atmospheric choices over specific gameplay changes, such as me putting a Myers visual rework over tier 1 changes. Don't take this the wrong way. Making tier 1 feel better would be amazing, fantastic, but I'm a fan of the actual Michael Myers character. I'm not just a Myers player. While I find Myers to be fun, I play him to the large extent that I do because I love feeling like the shape. Anything that makes me feel more like the character gets higher priority for me personally. Other than the stock changes, something needs to be done with that. The biggest thing I want though is for Michael to just be even more fun. I hope it's more than just a simple evil fix. I hope he gets a new toy or two to play around with. Michael getting a little bit of love could be exactly what I need to really pull me back into the game. Crossing my fingers and eagerly awaiting the evolution of evil. But please do let me know in the comments what you really want to see from the shape changes. I'm very curious to hear what you all have to say. Thank you all very much for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you in the next one.